Hey guys, in this video, let's look at how to make a money system where you create your own in-game currency where the player can use that rather than using HypeHype coin. You can use that for variety of logics. One can be where the player can buy a skin and he can use that to buy the skins, and you can save that money so that anytime the player can join, that money will always be saved. I've already worked on the skin change in another video, but I'll also try to quickly show you how to make a skin change here for any new viewers who has not watched that other video. So first let's take a black project and let's first add a player. Go to Premage, click on platform player. Let's play, and you can see the player is working. But one issue is the camera is too close up. So what you can do is click on reset view and then zoom out a bit. Change your angle how you want to be and set and click. And you have a bigger viewing range. Before we move on, let's always save it. Call it YP. Now that we saved the project, let's make a quick skin change. For that, we need another asset. Let's go to asset, go to model, and you have this model. Let's move in here. Now we'll go to view and turn on logic mode so we can see all the logics. Select all, move it around. And let's rotate this. We have the model. We need a very important node called object changer. This is a node that will let us swap for this skin to this skin. And we'll click on the player. We can add it to any one of these. And we can go to player help from here and move this object. Change it here and drag and drop it inside. Now in the target, we'll drag and drop it to this model. Now you might say this model is not a player, but this container is a behavior. And you can add this logic to any character. Now when you click on this player, you can see it's here. Now say you want to add it here. If you click on the model, you have this option called behavior, and then you can add all your behavior. So what happens is, for now for all the logics, we are drag and dropping it to this model. But when we apply this logic to any of the model, it will just swap out. So from this, right now it's becoming this model. So that is why in the logic we have selected this. So set target is our player, which is basically this. And then just for debugging, let's give the source to this. And we use a button node. So on button press, we want the spin change to happen. So on button press start, we'll execute, and I play and press the button, spin is changed. Okay, so everything works, but I'll clear the source because we want this to be dynamic. It can be 10 number of skins and we want to change any one of those. So we'll clear that for now. Let's click on save. Anytime you make a big change, always try to save. Now let's take a UI node because when we play the game, we need a money icon and next to it a number so that we know how much money the player has. So for that, we need a UI node, user interface, containerize it, click on the user interface, edit, and I always have a habit of adding it inside the panel because when we turn off this panel, everything else inside it also turns off. So we'll rename this as money. And we'll change opacity to 50%. So it's in color and alpha 50. Then we'll add an image. Let's see if we have any money image in the pre-made. There is a gem, there are a couple of coins, and this is HypeHype coin. So we don't need HypeHype coin, we need in-game currency. So we can also draw it. What you can do is come back to build, go to pixel art, click over here, click draw, then click create and edit this. In the manage, I'll change this to money, change the text to 32, and we can quickly draw one. Quickly drawing one. Um, if you want, you can also follow it. Basically, somewhat like this. Let me not spend too much time. Let's say if this is our coin. I mean, sorry, or not, or let me replay it. Okay. Let me just draw a simple note. Let's say this is our note. We come back to user now, click on the image, go to image, and this is my note. I can scale the panel as well. Let's say the panel as border. I'm gonna add the text. You can call this money. And let's add a number because the number is gonna be money. You can change this. We can remove the border of it, remove the outline, change the scale. Let's say we like this, let's set it. You see it is right here, but we don't want this to be here. We'll move this panel. Let's say somewhere here. And we want things to be bigger, so we'll make it bigger. Make the text bigger. Let's say this is also money. Not something fancy, it's very simple, but I don't want the video to be too long. Okay. Now we need to save the money value somewhere. So we need to save it inside a number node. So we go to node and call number. From output, we need to drag and drop it. Oops. But if you see, there is no input except the visibility of this node. But then the reason for that is they haven't enabled the value. So we go to edit, go to our money text, which is here. I can click here. Go to input and output, and you see there's something called as value, and increase it. I mean, turn it on. Just turn it on. Press OK, and we still see everything is working fine. And if you see in the user interface node, there is money value. So from the output, drag and drop, and leave it to money value. And let's test it. So let's say the money is 50. Play, and you must see it. Let's say the money value is 1,000. You see there's 1,000. Okay. Now it's working. Let's change this to money. Now let's save this. There's one more thing that we need to do, which is anytime the player plays and he collects the money, he needs to save that money. So anytime he plays it again, he still has that money saved up. For that, we need to save this number. No matter when he plays, he always has that money. Otherwise, every time he plays, the money starts with zero. So what we can do is go to logic, go to player save setting, go to number, type in what you renamed this number as. Here we named it as money. You see this money, click here. Okay, we have searched for it. So first enter this and click here. You see this option called player save. We will save it. Now we can come back to saved, and you see we have saved the money. Now no matter what, this number will be saved anytime he joins the game, even after he leaves it. Now, now what should happen is when the player comes in into a small area, it should give us the value of this skin. And when that UI is there, there should be a button where we click on that button and we buy, and the skin change should execute. So first what we'll do is we'll first create that area where the player can go and stand. For that, let's say we take in a model. Let's say we take this. Let's decorate this. We can make it thinner and make this blue. I mean, sorry, black. Duplicate this. Change the color to green. Tear it down. Move it inside. Move it up. And increase a bit. Now we have a small area. Now select all. Make it reusable and call it by area. Now if you see, this is separate, and when we click on by area and edit, and inside this container we have this, and this is just a duplicate of this. Now let's say you delete this by mistake. Make sure you never delete this, which is inside the reusable. If you delete the duplicate, you can always click on this and click on the 3D space, and you should have another duplicate. You can move this here. Let's move this bit down. This is here. Now what should happen is when the player stands on top of it, we want a by UI interface. So what we do is let's create that interface. Now we'll rename this interface as money. We will add another UI with the interface, and we'll call this by UI. Edit this. Let me quickly add a panel on snap to snap it. Increase the radius. Change the color to 50% opacity. Adding borders. Let's add text that says cost. Let's name this cost. Let's also name the text to cost. So whatever we write inside this text is what will be displayed. This naming is for our reference. Increase the size. See, we have it here. We can create another text. We can call it cost amount. Increase the text. Let's add a number. Let's say the maximum value would be this. Can increase a bit more. Bring this. You can change this to green or any color. And then we can add a buy button. I mean, we can add a button and call this buy. Anything in the header text, you see it here. Increase the text and add border. And let's say we can change the color. It is background color. Let's see how it. Now, if you see this, in this, we have only buy on start. We do not have the value for the cost. We need to change this value. So we come to cost amount, go to input output and turn on the value. Confirm. Okay. Now to double check, let's add a number node. Drag and drop it to cost amount value. Right now the text font is weird, but anyways, the number we can add, let's say 900. Now play, you see 900. We can rename this to cost. Now we do not want the cost amount UI to always be here. So we'll go to edit, click on the panel we created. Let's rename this to by UI. Scroll down, turn off the visibility. So no matter what, it's not turned on, but we want to see it when the player is standing on top of the area. So we come to input and outputs and turn on visibility. Now it still doesn't work even when we stand on it because we need to add that logic. Now we can come to by area. We can add a collision detector near the target. Always make to clear the target so we can redirect to which model we want. Now, what collision detector does is if the player is on top of our model, it will let us know that it's on top of it. Now, how does it know? It knows by something called as object groups, and you see trigger with group. Right now it's gray, turn it off, turn on green. And why we selected green is if you click on the player, go to advanced, go to object, you see the object group is gray and green, but gray is common for everything. Green is very unique to this player, so we'll keep it to green. So we keep it to green, and when the player is on the green object, so we'll drag and drop it here and make sure the object which you have tagged it to target is either unmovable or dynamic. No physics will not work. So now I kept it to unmovable. Now we need to take a broadcaster node. Let's duplicate this 2 times. Now the first one will add a new signal called UI on. We'll add another one called UI off. So now what happens is we'll change this to by UI on. So on collision start, basically when the player touches the green part, we'll send in a signal called by UI on. So we need to turn the UI on. But when all the collisions are off, we need to execute, but we need to execute it to by UI off. Now we have 2 things here. Let's add it here. So we will go and take broadcast listener. Because when we execute the broadcast, the signal has to go somewhere. So right now it is going here. Now we listen to by UI on. So when we execute that, this will in return get executed, or it's listening to that signal. And when signal is received, we want to drag and drop, go to by UI visibility and turn it on. Let's see if this works. You see, it works. But when we come away from the area, this is not turning off. So we need another broadcast listener, and we'll delete the action. will listen to buy off. So broadcast listener, change it to buy UI off, and if there's any signal, just clear it. Now, now we know collision end is basically when the player is not standing on top of it. We're executing by UI off. So by UI off, drag and drop, go to by UI, not to this visible. This visible is for the whole interface, but we want to go to by UI visible because that is what we have renamed, and we know that is the panel. Drag and drop, turn it off. Now let's see. It's back, it's out. It's back, it's out. Back, it's out. Back, it's out. But if you see, there's a weird movement that is causing because when the player is walking, there's a slight lift and the player is not touching the area. For that, what we can do is come to this object, or we can go to this gray first to make this no physics. I'm changing gray to no physics because the collision detector is taking in the green but not the gray. But just to be safe, let's say you do not know where the connection is, you can always make this unmovable and go to advanced, go to physics, make this sensor. Make sure to do the same for the green as well. Go to physics, make it sensor. Now that weird movement should stop. So it works. Again, I'm letting you know, make this unmovable and turn on sensor. Same thing for this. So what this does is it won't affect the physics or it won't make the player react to it, but this nodes will start working. But make sure it is unmovable and then it's a sensor. Let's save it because anytime you have big progress, always have a habit of saving things. Now that we have this, we know why it's working, but right now when I buy, the skin is not changing. So let's change skin. Now, how do I change skin? We already have object changer. So on pressing, we need to let the game know we want to change this. So first what we'll do is we'll come to by area. We'll try to make it as dynamic as possible so you can use this code anywhere you want. Or like how many ever skins you want. It will be very easy to do that. First click on the by area, go to input, add an input and add object and we'll call it skin. Now reason why we added this here is if you click on this duplicate of this reusable and if you come to basics, go to by area, now you see there's an object. This is an object where you can like an object input where you can tell which skin do you want to change. Now if you have multiple skins, you can manually select, so this is for this and there's another skin. Now you can say this area is for this. It's much more easier to read and much more easier to handle. So we'll click on this arrow, drag and drop and select this model. Now when we have a model, we need to store it. So there is something called as object storage. So number node is for numbers and object, sorry, not object changer, it is object storage. Object storage. So the number node is for numbers and object storage is for the storage. And the name clearly says it will save in that object. So we'll click on the blue, when by area, go to advanced, from here drag and drop it to store object. You can also do the same for like click here skin and drag and drop, which one ever you like. Now that we have stored it, now what we can do is on collision start, we will send in a signal that basically says this is our skin, you need to change it. For that, let's add a broadcast, like a broadcaster in the signal, and we can add a new signal called skin change. Like the skin change, and so on buy, this should happen on buy. So on buy UI is inside this container, not here. So what we do is we will remove here. So if you want to remove any node inside a container, we click on remove, move it around and drag and drop it here. You can see this icon. So when it shows, we can just drop and we have it here. Now when should the buy happen? The buy should happen when the cost of the skin is less or equal to the money that he has. And the reason for that is, now let's say the money is 100 and the cost is 50. Obviously, you can buy something, like you can buy the skin because you have 50, and you can remove the money from this and you will still have 50. Now, let's say the money is 100, but you have 150. Now you don't have that extra 50 to buy the skin. Now let's say you have 100 and the skin is also 100, you can still buy it because you have that 100 to buy it. So it is always less or equal to. For that, we need a compare node where it compares two values. This is a compare node, and we are going to check if this value in value A is less or equal to money. So we'll drag and drop, set it to value B. And in operator, we'll change it to less or equal to. So if cost amount is less or equal to money, it will give us true. If not, it will give us false. So if it's true, we want to change the skin. So output true if it's like output if it's true, and we'll execute change skin. Now in by UI, right now nothing's gonna happen because button press start, we're not still doing anything. So we'll drag and drop and execute compare. So on button press, we'll compare. If it's true, we'll change the skin. Make sure this connection is right. Value A is the amount of the skin. Value B is the actual money the player has. And the operator is less or equal to. Okay. So when the amount is less or equal to, we want to execute. So we'll add a broadcast listener. We have this broadcast listener. We'll change it to a skin change. So on skin change received, we'll execute this object. This is here. So and on skin change, we'll execute this object. And when we execute, we can output the stored object. And the stored object will be anything that we have linked in here. And we want to output it to another broadcast. Now here we can add in and say, we can just call it skin on play. Or we can just call it skin on. And output storage, and we'll execute this. Make sure the output is object. Do not add any value. And here inside our player health, where they have added this object changer, here we'll come to and add in broadcast listener. We'll change this to skin. And on signal received, we'll set it as source and convert the link. Always make sure the link is converted and make sure the connection is red. Now this should work. We have 1000, buy cost is 900, and I buy, boom, skin changes. But there are a couple of things that are not working right. One, if I buy it, this UI should close and the money should reduce here. So what we should do first is let's turn the visibility off. So if it's true, which means the buy is successful, we will turn off the visibility. So by UI, click, turn it off. Let's see if this works. Buy and the visibility is off. Okay. And also we want the money to reduce. So for that, let's use a math operator. Let's move this around. Now here we want to reduce the money. Now A will be the money, B would be the cost, and we want to subtract it. And the value will go back to money, convert the link, but do not execute. Make sure execution is turned off. So if it's true, we will execute this. So on button press buy, we'll execute. If the cost is less than money, We will change the skin, plus we will do a math operator subtract, and we will add that money back to this node. Now nearby, it is still 100. I mean, it has reduced and now it's 100. Now we want another thing to happen where when I buy, but the money is like we do not have that money to buy. We need a text that says you need more money, and the whole UI should close. For that, let's go to buy UI. We can add in text on top of this UI, and we can call it money. And inside this text where this will be displayed, we'll call it need more money. Make this bigger, and you can change the color to black. Let's turn the visibility off because we do not want to see this on all the time. The reason why it's being visible is this money is not a part of this panel. This is a separate thing, but anything inside this panel is turned off. That is why you always create a panel. So you can turn on and off this panel and everything else will happen. But here it's out of it. So what we need to do is first turn the visibility off, and we need to enable the input for visibility. Confirm. Now we have this option where no money visible option. So if in compare, if it's not true, then it's false. And we want to turn off the buy UI. So turn it off. Let's increase the cost to, let's say, 2000. When I come here, when I buy, the whole thing closed, but skin did not change. And go to compare again. And if it's false, we want no money visible to be on. I come here. If I buy, we see no money is here. I mean, need more money. Now let's see it's turned on forever. Let's turn it off after 1 second. We'll add an interval node. 1 second, make sure once that it is off. So on compare, if it's false, first we are turning off the UI, then we are turning on no money visible, and we'll also we'll play this. When it plays, 1 second will happen, and on time, no visible is off. Let's play. Click on buy, no money, and it's off. Okay, let's save this. Let's double check this again. Let me make this 10. Play, buy, skin change, reduce, UI close, everything's working. Okay, now let's add another skin. Let's see, we need this. Rotate this. Let's duplicate this. You see the connection is still here. Make sure this is not happening because both of them will buy this skin. So we click here, clear, drag and drop it to this skin. And when I play, buy, and the skin is changing. But I can already see one bug, which is basically if I come here, like buy, nothing's happening. The reason for that is when, so the logic is here. So when we buy, we're sending a signal, and the signal is to this reusable, and we have two reusables. So what is happening is when I buy, first we are changing into this skin, and after a fraction of second, we are also changing to this skin because skin change is happening for both of it. It's not happening inside this or inside this. It's happening for both. Now let's try to see how, I can show you what I am trying to explain. First, do not do this. Whatever I'm doing now, do not do this. This is only for debugging. Go to advanced, go to input, I click add a number called delay, and I'll add a number. So in delay, and I can drop it here, and we'll take an interval node, make sure to answer is all. Number, I'll add it to duration. So again, do not do this. I'm just doing it for debugging. Play on time. Well, I'll create a small delay so that you see what is happening. I'll change this to 1, and then I'll change this to okay. When I come here, click on buy. After 1 second, I change. And if you see after 3 seconds, I change here. So this is what I meant. When I buy it, the signal, the signal is going to both of this area, and each area has its own model. So we are first changing to this and then changing to this. We do not want that to happen. Now, when I stand here, it should only buy to this, but not this. It's a very, it's a cheat. I would say it's a cheat or like a trick. There are complicated ways of again doing this. I do not expect a beginner to know all that, so I'll try to do something very simple. So what we want to do is we'll first clear this and change it back to how it was by default. So on skin change execute, it's going to execute this object storage and it's going to send it to skin. Okay. Now what should happen is now by default we will turn off. Let's say we will turn off skin change. We will turn it enable off. So this skin which goes to this player, we will turn it off. Not the skin change. This skin. Let me just rename this to skin change skin layer. I might have to get better at naming things, but for now we'll change it to skin player change, and this is skin change. Okay. Now if you see, if I change that here, it's also gonna change it here as well. So the skin change is the one that's changing the object changer. Now I'll turn it off by default. Now nothing should be working. Now if I come here, by money is reducing, but the skin is not changing. Okay. Now we want to turn on this only when we are on top of this. So for that, we already know on collision detection, we know the player is standing on top of it. So we'll click here, enable on, but make sure execute is off. Otherwise it'll execute this and you'll have some weird bug where the skin is changing without no reason. So again, I'm make sure the color is gray as well. So red is executed, gray is not executed. We do not want to execute. Broadcaster is turned on but not executed. But on collision end, we will enable off. So now on collision it's on collision it's off. So when the player is on top of, so by default everything's turned off, but when the player is on top of this, skin change is enabled only for this, but not for everything else. When the player moves, and when the player moves away, this is also turned off. And when it comes here, it's only turned on for this. Now this should work. By yay, everything works. Here by yay, skin changes, everything works. Okay. But I can already see another issue, which is basically I come here, and when I come back, okay, so the bug is already fixed. Now imagine this did not go away, but when the player moved away, this is enabled off, and whatever you buy, it will not execute because this is never turned on. So right now everything just works perfectly. So I buy, it changes, buy, it changes, money still reduces. I buy, nice. Now let's make another character. So you can now by doing this, you can make n number of characters. So come here, duplicate this, move this here, go to buy area, clear this because it's taking in this, select this skin. Come here, in a play by C. This is all it is. Now let's fix a last thing. It is basically every skin right now is 10, but we want to set different values for different skin. Now, what we can do that is go to by area, go to advanced, go to edit, and click on plus, go to number, and call this cost. Now, if you come here, click on this, go to basic, you'll see something called as cost. Now we'll mention the cost here. Let's say this is 100, this is 500, and this is 1000. Before that, let's also see, because you've already done big progress. Now that this, you've added the cost, now in the cost, we can save that value inside this number. From here, cost, output this. Now this number, we can just call it cost. Now when the player is on top of this, we want to execute this. We can add in, rather than adding a new broadcast signal for it, we can already reuse this. We can go to collision, zoom in a bit so you know the connection. You see the broadcaster is for this. Click here, delete that connection, move this here. So on collision start, drag and drop. We already executed. It executes the number. This will drag and drop it and execute it. We'll come here. So we already have this by UI on, and this is basically turning this UI on. But also what we can do is on signal, we'll drag and drop it to output value and convert this, but do not execute it because we don't want it to execute. You can see this is gray, it's not executed. Let's see if this works. You see, it's still not working. We have given it 100, 500,000, but it's not working. Reason for that is inside this cost number here, which we are sending it to by UI. Click on this, click on the link. You see the value here is set to 0. Make sure you click on this, click on use keyboard value. This will get converted to use calculated value. Calculated value is the number which is being saved in this number node, which is cost. Click OK. You see it's use calculated value. So on collision start, it will execute this number and it will send in the value, calculated value, which is the value inside this, and give it to broadcast. Now inside the broadcast here, click on the by UI because that is what we are executing and sending the value. Here, you see the cost amount, which is sending it to this number. Click on it. Make sure it is in pass input value because sometimes maybe, let's say you will have some number, like let's say even 0, but make sure it is set to pass value where you can do that by clicking on this and click on this and you'll have pass input value. Make sure this is pass input value to cost. Now you should have it. 100, 500, 1000. Let's buy this. Now if I come here, it says 1000 and I have only 900. It should tell me a UI where I should buy it. You see, need more money. Now if I come here, 500 and I have 900 and I should be able to buy it. Boom. Works fine. It might be a longer video, but I try to break it down as simple as possible. Now I'll just quickly show you how do you add money back to it. Now let's say you want to collect apples and you get money. I'll just quickly do this. Apple. I'll add red apple. Make it reusable. Click on edit. Now I have 2 apples. Now you can remove this. This is a part of inside this reusable. And collision detector. So when the player collects this apple, which is basically green because the character is green, Green. So on collision start, first let's destroy this. Collision start, let's execute. So I took a destroy button or a destroy node here, drag and drop it here, set target as this apple. So on collision start, we're going to execute. Drag, I'll drop in some apples. So if I touch, it is okay. But if you see there's small delay in the moment, for that it's because it's colliding with the apple. Make sure, so I had selected this, and when I wanted to select this, it just created another apple. So I get back, now delete this unwanted one. Make sure you do not delete this apple inside this reuse group. Go to Apple, make sure physics is unmovable. In case the collision is not working, it should always be in unmovable. Go to advanced, go to physics, make it sensor. Now you should have a smooth flow. Okay. And now we can add another broadcaster, and we can say just add money. So on collision start, execute. I'm gonna add money. So when the player just when the collision detector detects the player, so when the player contacts in this, it's gonna destroy the apple and also add money. Now we can come here, add in broadcast listener. I can drop it here, change it to add money, and on signal, we'll go to money number, output value. We'll click on use input value and click on operation to add because we want to add it. Click OK. Now, if you see, money is still not adding it. And the reason for that is if you go to collision detector, if you go to broadcaster here, now there is no number mentioned here. If you see, there's nothing. So here, let's say I add in 10. 10, this should work. You see? This collected 7 apples and I got some 70. Make sure go to broadcast here, click on this, and the number is set to 10. You can come back here, double check, add money. Here it's set to pass input value and add. So now what you can do is you can have different. Now let's say I duplicate this. I click on this apple. I'll change the model to, let's say, pineapple. I rename this to pine. Right now, by doing this, the scale is off. So go to transform. Okay, the scale is not off. This is how the pineapple is. No mind. We have the pineapple. Go to build, go to pineapple. We add a couple of pineapples. Now let's say the pineapple gives us more money. All we can do is come to collision detector. Click on this broadcaster here. Click on this number here. And you can change it to, let's say, 100. Now if you see I collect apple, I get 10. If I collect pineapple, I get 100. Now you might say here we used this number node to send in a value, but here we're using this connection. Again, there are multiple ways of doing it. Let's say you want to use the same logic, you can always do that. So I have this number node here. I can call it cost. And I'll delete this connection here. I'll say on collision, I'll execute this number. And this number here is 100. And output, drag and drop it to execute. You already know, you click here and click this. So you get use calculated value. Use calculated value. And this should work the same. You see, I'm adding 100. So this is two different ways of sending a number inside a broadcaster. This is much more organized because I can just come here, just change here, but here I have to click here, go here, change here. So there's more often that you might miss this, but this is more straightforward. I can just quickly change the value here. It's whatever you prefer, you can do it. Hope this video was helpful. I think this is almost an hour video. But these are some imported concepts for money system. But once you set it up, you will have a beautiful money system working in your game. Again, I'm letting you guys know, if you want. I mean, it's not about if you want. I think whenever the player plays, he wants that money to be saved so that he doesn't come back again and he sees his money is disappeared. If you do not want his money to be disappeared, make sure player save. I mean, you can go to logic, click on player save setting, and then go to number here. Search for your node. That is why naming things is very important. I named it as money. Make sure you do not name money to any other number node, otherwise you might get confused. So money, and click enter so that you get this sort. Otherwise you'll still be in the search. Enter and click on this and make sure player is saved. No save will not save, but you need to save it. And then all your saved will be here in a list. Hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any other questions, and I'll try to make a video. You see, I'm still buying it. Buy and you need more. Perfect. I'll try to link this project in the description, and you guys can use this. See you guys in the next video.